Folks, welcome inside the Paris Sea Palace, high above 3773's Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, coming on Power Talk. Please go to our website, powertalk.live. Download our free app to your smartphones. You can stream all of our live local programming, including Solomon on Blast, the Jim Parisi Show, and yours truly, the Jake Feinberg Show. Can't thank you enough for making us part of your day today. And a couple years ago, I had an opportunity. I've done about 4,000 radio interviews, and my first book is on its way out, called The Cats, Volume 1. And about 2 years ago, I connected with one of the Cats, one of the most prolific drummers, and one of the most humble cats of all time, Chris Parker. And we did a radio interview together, and then we did 2 Facebook Live interviews together, which for the listening audience are video interviews at Mid-City Music studio that Chris has on lockdown. And, what caught my attention was that one time he talked about him and his 4 other brothers had, there were 5 drum kits in the house at one point, and they were all playing drums as a way for descarga, for endorphin release, and for creativity and cut sessions. And at the end of the day, I said, who was the maniac that was behind all this? And he said, it was my dad, Robert Andrew Parker. Welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, the dining room was very noisy. There was a piano there, which was always there, and someone had left a pretty nice set of vibes there, and someone had left a bass there at some point. And we were far from any other house, so we would. And their mother, my late wife, was she liked the music too, and we played all the time.
Let me, I just want to start off by asking you if you could talk about your concept of, over the last 8 years as I've been doing my show, I've started playing drums in a non-professional setting, but I really understand the nexus of magic and music. There's only 2 letters that separate that, and I also realize rhythm is love, and I kind of wanted you to talk about your concept of rhythm and early on how you developed your own internal time feel.
Oh, Lord. I don't know if I could. Well, I grew up with it. My father, luckily, was a jazz fan until actually I started playing clarinet around the house, and then his interest in music changed a bit, I think. But as a young man, he knew Hoagie Carmichael. I think they were schoolmates at Indiana University or something, and he jazz records, But as the years went by, the music took a turn that my father wasn't in the least interested in. So, say from bebop onwards.
So he was more. Would you say he was a Four Brothers Woody Herman cat, or even before that?
Oh, before that. Oh, yeah.
Right.
He like Hoagie Carmichael and Vic Spiderbeck and those guys from that period. And I think they played at the Odd Dance. He went to University of Indiana, and I think they played dances there and whatnot. So he liked that stuff. And the records we had around the house as we were growing up were mostly jazz records. Of that period, there was a certain moment when the records I was bringing home when I was in my teens, it didn't interest him at all. Lester Young and even Benny Goodman and stuff like that. He liked Bix and turn of the century. Well, no, the 20s, I'd say.
Could you, just for the audience, of course I know the platitude of the roaring 20s. But how would you describe, was it like 2-beat rhythm? How would you describe the rhythm of those records? I really don't listen to those records.
Yeah, I guess you would call that 2-beat now. Some of them were sort of standards of the day, and I actually don't listen to them much anymore, but they were interesting. Bix was a very interesting original player, and some of the others were, and they all had such short lives, and then so many other more exciting forms of music became, from New Orleans and Kansas City, and music that really swung much more, and was what I think my father and my brother and I all went our own ways about maybe 1945.
Wow,
like
that's awesome. You guys all went your separate ways.
Right.
Musically.
My brother liked sort of traditional Dixieland, and I lost interest in that. I liked bebop and Dizzy and Bird and Monk and all that, and I like swing records too. But my father never changed. He stopped at Paul Whiteman and Vic Spiderbeck, and after that.
Sure. Well, no, I want to ask you something very seriously, because you lived through it, and it's really an amazing thing when you're a musician and you are actually living through a period of new musical development. For instance, a guitar player out of Detroit like Dennis Coffey, who was part of the second iteration of the Funk Brothers, he was coming up. He was like playing guitar during like the burgeoning rock and roll in the late 50s, and he'd ask his teacher, "What are they doing?" And the teacher's like, "I have no idea." so I mean, with you, a couple questions here. Did Dizzy and Bird, did they call that music bebop, or is that a term given by journalists like myself?
I would say the latter, probably. I'm not sure. I know at some point it began to be called that, and we knew what they meant by that. I don't know. And of course,
when was the like seeing it live? What do you remember? Like, would you just be like, "Wow, that's new music," or did you actually just start reading about it? And just for me as a journalist, I'm curious because, some people would say, yeah, they did call it, bop, or they're not going to call it like. Some people, it goes both ways, but when you literally saw that evolution in the real time, like you probably saw it live.
And that's when my father split off, and then my brother did, and they had zero interest in Charlie Parker or Dizzy or any of that. My brother stopped at, say, Benny Goodman and the swing bands. He went that far. My father stopped, as I said, at Vic Spiderbeck. But I went all the way to a point, and then right on cue, I lost interest in a lot of current music myself, which. I love hearing live music, but it doesn't. The act doesn't. No,
totally. Just such an honor here to talk to Robert Andrew Parker on the Jake Feinberg Show. Were you going to Birdland, and who were the drummers that you were getting off on? Was it Tiny Khan? Was it Ben Riley? I don't even know who was drumming at that time. But who were to me, the rhythm, the thing that makes your sons so unique, and their lineage, their generation, your generation, is that everybody learned by ear. They learned the music by ear first before they learned to sight read, especially melodic improvisation. And now today, in academia, cats are learning to read music first because we're inundated with so much information, so their ears are locked. So I'm just curious about the drummers that you were getting off on, because to me, music is all about letting the body dance. I don't know when we decided as a culture to start to sit and stare at somebody's facility. That's not what it's about. I wanted you to just riff on the drummers and the, letting the body dance.
Well, oddly enough, one of my father's favorite records was a record called Liza with Chick Webb and his band, and I remember before I even had a drumstick, admiring Chick Webb and the way he played, and a lot of the drummers who played then, Sid Catlin, Chick Webb, and all those guys, Cozy Cole, they were so good. I mean, they moved sort of without any big gap right into bebop and all that. You know, they were really good musicians, whatever they played, and so that's sort of a vague answer, isn't it? But at some point, the music really took a change, and I couldn't get my father or my brother to listen to Thelonious Monk or Dizzy, despite everything. You know, there was a moment when they said, "Okay, this is not what we like anymore."
Okay, but I mean that's fine. I actually, with all due respect to your wonderful brother and father, I care about this is your interview, and so, and Monk, for instance, and correct me if I'm wrong, he was never recognized as the genius that he was until after you were one of the few cats that did recognize his genius.
Well, yeah, I think something like that. I guess I certainly liked him from the very beginning. It was one of the.
What did you like about it?
Well, some interesting tunes and I mean things he wrote, and I wrote a piece about it for a magazine once, and I tried to describe it as like a tree with a lot of different branches, and every one of them was interesting in its own way. And I don't know, he had something that others didn't have. You know, he didn't base everything on I got rhythm changes or like that. You know, he was really his own person. I think he was for me, a really amazing player and composer. And, I don't know, there were so many of those guys. And then there was a point when I wasn't interested in it anymore. You know, I don't know when it happened exactly, but I find myself listening to older records now instead of current ones, you know. But I don't know, the whole shape of jazz is so changed now. I guess there's a certain point when I wasn't very interested in it anymore. I mean, I love the way my sons play, and they're often in situations where the actual music they're playing doesn't interest me. I just like the way they play drums, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, Robert, I just want you to speak into the phone as clearly as possible because this is so important. But, okay, so here's the question. You just alluded to this tree of all these different branches, and I want you to go back and talk about how your painting changed when you started to hear Miles and Bird and Dizzy and Monk.
Oh, I'd say I don't think they were connected, especially. I was lucky enough to do a number, but I never. How should I put it? I don't know. I don't think the music as such affected the way I paint, you know.
Okay, so I want to play you this audio clip right now. We have we have a game on this program called Name That Voice.
Okay.
I want you to listen to this because you'll see why I asked that question after you hear this. Okay, here we go.
You know, AM radio. My dad was a huge jazz fan and had a lot of vinyl, and he had radio on the whole time he was working. He mostly worked at home. He is a painter, and he always had. There was a station in New York at the time called WRVR with a disc jockey named Ed Beach.
Sure.
Who played a lot of jazz all day long. Plus, my dad had every Monk record ever recorded, every Miles record, every Count Basie record, Duke Ellington record, a lot of 78s as well as LPs. And I had total access to that. And once I cleared it with my mom, can I listen to music? Can I drum? Can I drum? You know, and she would always say yes. So as soon as I was able, like 15, 16, I would take trips into the city and get into a place like the Village Gate, or sometimes the Village Vanguard, or Five Spot was still in existence then, but they wouldn't let me in. That was, Coltrane and Monk played there, but I couldn't get in there. That was too much of a scene on St. Mark's Place. But I did get to hear, Elvin up close, and Jimmy Cobb up close, and Tony Williams up close, and Buddy Rich when he had his own club on 2nd Avenue and 68th Street, I think it was. I got to hear a lot of guys, 3 feet away. And,
Oh, boy.
All right, who do you think that is?
Oh, well, I know. It's like talking to Chris this afternoon,
Dude, I love that guy, man. I
great.
feel very deeply connected to. There's something. It's these weird ebbs and flows, and I've interviewed so many guys, but Chris is just one of the coolest cats I've ever met. And but I wanted you to talk. I mean, okay, so it didn't. You listen. What did that music was not Bix Beiderbecke. It wasn't. I mean, the Monk records. That stuff was like. That stuff was angular, and it was completely improvisational. And you're telling me, truthfully, maybe did it inspire you to paint more, or it had no effect on your drawings at all, or anything like that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I loved it when I did a number of album covers, and I loved it when they were about someone I liked. I did Monk's last cover that I guess it was Columbia. I'm beginning to forget.
Wait, hold on. Wait. You did the album cover for Columbia?
Yeah, I did them for.
Oh my God! Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
No, I did a lot of covers. I did. Oh God! The thing is, I gave Chris most of my LPs about a couple of years ago. And I should have pulled out the ones I did covers for.
Well, no. Let's take your time. I want you to really think about this. So, first of all, can you take us through how you got commissioned to do that?
Oh, well, I was doing a lot of books and stuff. I was doing a lot of illustrations in Esquire and New Yorker, in several magazines, and I've done a number of books. And then I didn't do that many record covers, but I did a few for Columbia, and I did some for somebody else. I forget who, but they were. Oh, I know. I said Billy, the white pianist Billy. He died of an overdose.
First name Billy?
Yeah,
Why can't I remember? I was thinking Billy Taylor, but he's not white.
No. God, isn't that awful? He was from Connecticut too.
Jesus. Okay, it'll come. Hold on. So you did Monks. Take us through the process of cultivating an album cover for Monk. Would you listen to the record and then base it on? I really want you to just take us through one that you can actually remember.
In my mind, I put him in what could be seen as probably a raft or something, and moonlight or something. He's sort of alone in that kind of space with what could be water around him or fog. I wished I had it in front of me. Damn it. But in any case, it turned out to be his last Columbia record. I don't know. I mean, to do it, I certainly didn't feel I had to put the record on when I was doing it or something like that. But there was a magazine called Grant Street for a while, and I wrote a piece in there about Monk, and I tried to explain why I found him so interesting. And I think I mentioned it was like a tree with a lot of different branches going different ways, and all ending up in some beautiful structure, And that's probably not very clear.
Well, I'm going to find this album here. You have any idea what year it was?
Oh boy, I'm bad at that.
Right, but I mean, essentially, so because of that record review, they tracked you down and said, "Would you like to do album covers?" I'm just trying to figure out how they.
Oh well, the art director there could be very perverse. He'd give Tom Allen, a friend of mine, often jazz records to do, and he'd give me hillbilly music to do. And we'd end up neither one doing anything with it. But occasionally he was thoughtful like that, you know. And he was an interesting guy in his own right. But I ain't going to talk about him. But any case, it's the thing I wrote for Grand Street was about Monk and how I thought about him, and how it was like some kind of jungle structure with limbs going all different ways and all making sense after a while. Yeah, he was fascinating to me. But a lot of players were in different ways, but his especially. I love the things he wrote, and I'm sorry one doesn't hear him anymore, you know?
Well, I mean, there's definitely younger. I think part of it was also his onstage demeanor. I remember when I interviewed Phil Woods. I mean, Monk would kind of just get up and start dancing around the bandstand. I mean, he was just like such a colorful guy. I'm just going to throw out two names here. This is from '65. Mysterioso.
Oh yeah.
Or just Monk. Either of those ring a, because the one that has Monk with a period on it has this black cover which is shrouded in like almost a cloud form. It's very fascinating. I'm just trying to figure out if that's the one you did the artwork for.
See.
You know, more to the point. I mean, what was it like? Can you just talk about? Did you see any of these cats before you heard them on record?
Oh no, no. I bought the records when he was many years ago. Before, God, I can't even think of the first one I got of his. But in any case, no, I played records of his long before I saw him. I didn't get to see him until, I don't know, late 50s maybe, something like that.
Can you talk about, let's just go through each one of these guys. You had every Thelonious Monk album. Take us through what it was like, what was unique about his onstage demeanor and his leadership style when you actually saw him live.
Well, it was extremely casual. The tenor player that he had on most of his bands, embarrassed to say, I suddenly can't say his name. But I remember when I saw him and he had a travel-sized box of Kleenex in his pocket. And when he wasn't playing his horn, he was blowing his nose.
I love it. I just love this stuff. Yeah, it was so casual.
I know. And Monk would often he'd finish his chorus and he'd walk a little around, walk behind the guys while they're playing, and the bass player and drummer would keep going, and the Monk would play a big deal. But he did a couple local ones up in New York State for some school where I think maybe one of his children was in the school or something. But that was a terrific one. It was a long show and the music was great. And I never spoke to him or anything like that, but he was really one of the most interesting guys of all those people, I think. I mean, you know, rest of them were, of course, great players and all, but I think Monk's writing was what was most interesting about him, maybe. You know, his piano technique, he wasn't Oscar Peterson by any means, but they were about his ideas, and he presented them so that they really meant something, you know.
Right. No, it was the spirit and the essence was floating in the room. What was it, Charlie Rouse who used to be blowing his nose?
Yeah, that's right. He was the one with the Kleenex box.
Yeah, the Kleenex boxes.
Jacket pocket.
I mean, were you aware? I mean, for a minute I was doing a bunch of interviews, for a documentary on Stan Getz that still hasn't gotten off the ground. But there was this real like sort of attitude, and I'm not saying you weren't like on the bandstand with Prez or
No.
but did you understand that a lot of this jazz life had to do with people being strung out on junk? Like I wondered if you understood that if you weren't on junk, then you really were not trusted. Was that something that you ever became hip to? Like, not that you got hooked on it, I'm saying, were you aware of the fact that a lot of these cats, I mean, Charlie Parker was the biggest junkie, and then everybody said, well, I want to sound like him, so it must be because of the junk. And so they got hooked on it. I mean, can you riff on, you just take it from your own perspective.
Huh? Oh, are you there?
Yeah, just riff on it any way you want, from your own point of view.
Oh, I see. No, I never thought of him that way. They got to the gig on time and they played, and I don't know what they were. I know Bird did a lot of junk. I don't know what Monk's habits were. I don't think they were junk. I'm not sure what they were, but I don't think that would have been his.
He was in the He was in the stratosphere. I mean, there's no doubt.
Exactly.
I mean,
need it.
when did you decide to? When did you first get your own trap set? Was it a modified trap set? I mean, how quickly did you?
No, my mother's brother had been a drummer, so he died very young, and my grandparents' house had his drums up in the attic, and when we'd visit them, my brother and I would both go up there and hammer on them. It was an old-fashioned set. I really wish I'd kept track of it, because things were so much lighter then. Now they weigh a ton,
Oh.
Drums weigh and you could have a bass drum, a snare drum, and two tom-toms, and it only weighed about 5 pounds or something.
That's
Everything
beautiful. But I mean, could you still generate volume sonically, even though?
With that, I don't know.
Yeah.
When I was hammering on it, it was just that. I was actually playing clarinet more than that. I took the clarinet with me when I went in the Army, and I used to play with the squadron band sometimes, clarinet. But those models were really impossible with Benny Goodman alive. I felt ashamed to even open a case, And Artie Shaw, well, Benny especially.
I mean, is it even? Would you say the small group Benny Goodman stuff with the with the Gene Krupa stuff, was that sort of the turning point when you went your own way musically? I'm just trying to get an idea of because a lot of those guys, those cats were not using. There was the 4 on the floor, no doubt, but a lot of the really melodic drummers were using the bass drum for rebound or for accents. They weren't just playing 4 on the floor. And
that's right.
When you started to play drums, did you find that you had your own individual voice on the kit?
Oh, I don't think so. I was.
I mean, you're still playing 2 gigs a week. That's what Chris told me last year.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, you're still playing. I mean, so I can't imagine you definitely aren't you're not sounding like a drum machine.
No, but he's traveled with Chris. I'll play 2 tunes and then he'll do 4, and the place will go nuts. It's terrific.
Dude, I saw him with some blues dudes, and it was just so majestic because it was not overly complex drumming, but it was just, again, it was like, I mean, the spirit went through the room, and it was just, it didn't matter how simple the music was, the beat was strong, and so.
Well, there's a local show here at Music Mountain every year, and they've been having my band every year.
Wait, hold on. This is one of these. Wait, you live near. You live near Music Mountain?
Yeah.
I got to get up there, man. I've been obsessed with that place, man. Is it an outdoor festival?
No, the actual room is. It's a big, beautiful land with picnic tables and all, and then at a certain hour the whistle blows and music starts. They come inside. It's a beautiful hall, and they have most of their program is classics, and then 2 or 3 times a year they have a jazz band, and we've been lucky there. And I used to do it on my own, and then I began to invite one of my more skilled children to play with me, and it really became such a perfect excitement for me to have somebody really good next to you and really good in front of you. And this year Chris did it, of course, and it was a knockout. In any case,
Well, I just need. Well, I mean, just let me know the date on it. I'll try. I'll try to get back there. But
July 6th we played this year.
wow.
And next year I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, I become obsessed with Music Mountain for some reason. Were you? I know you were immersed in painting, but the fact that you had all these records, how often were you going in and seeing Were you leaving the kids with your wife to go? Because you were you that much of a freak for the music?
Oh, I'd go in a lot, but we never actually lived in the city, so it was always a train ride. It wasn't.
Right. No, I'm saying you specifically, like a Friday night. How would you would hear from Ed Beach on the radio who was playing? How would you get hip to who was playing, and then take us through a memorable weekend for you in the city?
Yeah. Well, let's see. God, I can't remember the names of some of the joints I used to go to.
Well, what about the five? What about the Five Spot or Birdland?
Five Spot. I certainly went there. And which is the one that was downstairs a few steps?
Was it Vanguard?
Yeah, maybe. I heard a lot of different bands. I wasn't always lucky enough to hear Monk, but I heard a lot of people I liked very much, and but that we didn't go in that often. It was local playing and records in the country, so it was a big deal even from when we lived in Carmel, New York. The train ride was just a couple hours, but we didn't go in that much. And then Chris and Tony and Jeff were all living in the city after a while, and certainly Chris probably heard much more music than I did in those years.
Can you talk about, like, one thing that's been fascinating to me is sort of coming out of the late 50s into the early 60s on the West Coast. Claire Fisher was playing with Gary Peacock and this drummer Gene Stone, and then of course there was these conversational piano trios with Paul Motian and Scotty LaFaro, and
that's right.
Did you?
Well, I was out there. I had a fellowship grant, rather, to do lithography in Los Angeles, and I saw the. Oh Christ! What was his name? He played a trumpet with 5 valves. A big band.
Oh, come on! We got to get that. Was it Condoli? Was it Condoli?
No, not Pete. No, that was a regular sort of Anglo-Saxon name.
Anglo-Saxon. Hold on. He had five valves. You said?
Yeah, he had a funny horn, and it was a great band. It was all original tunes. He died very young, though. What the hell was his name?
Was it Shorty Rogers?
No, bigger than that.
Jeez.
But he died young, and I think he did a lot of original tunes. In fact, his whole book was mostly original tunes.
Was it Charlie Davis?
No? No.
Or Carmel Jones, maybe.
No. Damn it.
Anyway, wait. So you got us? What year did you get out there?
It was 67.
Wow. What was the? So explain what was the scene like? I mean, you were on your own. I'm sure you didn't take the family out there.
No, I was alone. The grant I got included an apartment near the place where the lithography was going on. So, but evenings, some of the people I'm printing with would go to hear bands, and God damn it, I can't think of his name. It's terrible.
It's just not, it's just not. I mean, it's
A
painful.
white guy, and he played trumpet with a funny extra valve on it or something. God, isn't that awful? In any case, I heard a lot of music out there that year. I was there for 2 months, October and November of that year.
What was the discern in your mind? What was the? I mean, we were going to the Howard Rumsey's Lighthouse and things like that.
Yeah, that, and I saw Oscar Peterson with a trio there. I don't remember the name of that place. That was exciting. Sitting next to him, watching him at work. My Lord. I mean, there'll be, this person like Benny Goodman and a drummer like Buddy Rich, and then there's Oscar Peterson. I don't think there'll ever be a pianist better than that.
Yeah, well, he had his own theory and style, and I mean, and then obviously it was just like, I mean, with Ray Brown and Ed Thigpen, it's just like
Right.
a little bit. I mean, you're gonna be. Did you know William Steig?
Bill Steig, yeah, we were good friends.
I want you to talk about William Steig, please. Just riff on. Listen, I grew up. I was born in '78. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right, and my mom would put me to bed at night reading Sylvester and the Magic Pebble and all these incredible. And I want you to talk because Jeremy Steig left us. I never had a chance to interview him. I want you to talk about William, though. Please tell me about him.
Oh, well, he was great. We saw a lot of him, and we lived in Washington, Connecticut then, and he lived in another small town near Washington. I forget the name of the town already. But we used to see him there, and he had a box there. God, there's a name for it. And you could shut yourself in the box and meditate and have changes in your life and everything. And he had an indoor pool.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Hold on. What is this box you're referring to that you can meditate?
He had a name for it, and I can't remember.
This is painful. All right, so how did you meet? Yeah, go ahead.
You go in the box,
Yeah.
and you'd sit there. And my late former wife did it a couple times, and she said, "What should I do?" And she said, "Well," Bill said, "Well, you can sit there or you can read, whatever you want to do. The box will do the work for you." And then he had an indoor pool because he'd been on the what do you call it, water polo team
Right.
at his college. And the trouble with water polo was fingernails. They fight over it, and they always, those swimmers lose a lot of skin fighting over the ball.
Oh, I see. That's right with the polo. That's right.
So he was a great guy, and he had a brother who invented a liquid watercolor, which is very popular then. I forget what it was called. And his brother, I met him twice. We were eating with Bill and his wife, and his brother was there, and his brother could predict things. I said, "Well, do it." He said, "Well, and this is deep in the country." He said, "The next car you see will be a red truck." Jesus Christ, it was.
Whoa, dude! The clairvoyant, man. It's just unreal.
To prove it, that's a vicious game because you're hitting each other. You got to swim with your palms open. So if you hit somebody, it's going to be fingernails.
Like, what was his? I mean, what was his? Would you? Did you guys share? Did you talk a lot about painting and sort?
No, it was more. In those days, it was about politics and the Vietnam War and a lot of that. And we didn't talk about art very much at all, if at all, really. It was usually politics and God, the people we used to think were villains in the White House. Jesus, they look like angels now, don't they?
Well, I mean, it's corporate fascism now. We know. I mean, this is unreal, man.
It's very weird.
It's beyond weird, man. It's trouble. It's really serious, and very dubious. But
well, in any case, his brother one day at lunch, I'd only met him before. Bill was at one end, and his wife, and my wife and I were there, and then his brother and his wife. And I said, "How does he predict things?" And Bill said, "Well, I forget his name. He said, "Do it." And he said, "Well, let's see. There's going to be a red truck come by in a little while." And there was.
Right. No, I mean, it's
Deep in the country, you know. It was,
right. It was like you get a car every 20 minutes, right?
right.
You know, it's like then it goes by. Did you were there any cats outside of your sons, obviously? But I mean, did you form any relationships with any of the musicians?
Oh yeah, I was very lucky. There was a guy who had been on every band. Gee, I suddenly can't say his name. We're great friends, and he used myself and a guy named Jim Vickery on bass, and a pianist Dan Mooney on piano. And he used us for a lot of gigs. It was fun to play with someone who had been a sideman in a group of band and a lot of different bands. He was very patient, and I think we all learned a lot from him. And he was great. I really miss him. And well, Chris remembers all those guys too.
Yeah, he's gonna have to fill in some of the blank. What about Moondog?
Moondog.
Who was? I mean, I really want you to tell me about Moondog.
I don't know much about him. I just remember the name and the weird theme song he had, but I can't sing it.
I mean, the whole thing is your entire.
Oh, Moondog. I'm sorry, the guy on the street.
Exactly. Yeah, man.
Oh, I saw a lot of him.
We'll talk about what was that like, man? Because I mean, this was a different.
People were very patient with it. They'd swerve around him, even though he was sometimes in the way at the corner.
Right.
And,
he was blind. Yeah, no, he didn't know where he was going. Him and Tony. Yeah. I think Tony Scott used to go out and play clarinet with him.
Yeah, I knew Tony Scott too.
You did?
Yeah.
What was Tony like?
He was a prick. He could be a mean guy.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, Stan Getz when he was in a decent frame of mind could be the sweetest uncle, and then next thing you know, he's the biggest jerk ever.
Oh yeah.
You know, almost.
Yeah, absolutely. He was. Yeah, those guys have their moments.
Would you say that was there a discernible turning point for you with jazz? Like in '67, you know, you had these, you know, Shelley's Manhole was open, but it was primarily outside of maybe the Wurlitzer. There was it was still acoustic music.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And
was part of your leaving of or moving away from jazz for a while had to do with the electronicization of jazz?
No, I don't think so. It was just that the players that I was interested in had sort of either died or moved away or weren't working in New York anymore. So at some point, there wouldn't be any bands that I was especially keen on seeing, you know, or trio or even singles. So there was a stretch in I would go anywhere to see Monk, you know, but other than him, I didn't go. Oh, I saw a trumpet player, a very nice guy who was a friend of mine. We used to go see him. God, his stomach. Isn't that off? I can't say his name. Nice
what about Chet Baker? I mean, I'm trying to help.
Not him. I don't think he's a very
What
nice
about Art
guy.
Pepper? I mean, did you see Pepper?
No. Didn't this was a guy, a black guy. He was and my friend named two of his kids after him.
Jesus.
God, I can't say his name. Damn it.
Well,
in any case.
Was it Lee Morgan?
No.
Chris is gonna. Chris is gonna help us. Chris is gonna get every name right for this.
I know.
Did you, as a father with kids? Obviously, you were. I mean, you're still painting. You're still drumming. It's not like you're even retired,
right.
Which is insane. But the thing is that, did you ever? A lot of fathers sometimes. You know, I have two daughters of my own, and I don't have this issue. But sometimes with their kids, you know, they want them to either follow in their footsteps, or if the kids are, you know, kind of not. If they're moving away from I guess my question is, how did you raise your kids so that, did you ever force them, maybe that's the wrong word, but to stay with the drum kit, or it was all right with you if they moved away from it and came back? It was was it an all natural sort of process for you?
Oh yeah. In fact, when Chris was in the high school band, he played first trumpet. He didn't
That's
play
right.
drum.
That's right.
And the other boys, it was a horrible, stupid right-wing town, but the music teacher there was a genius and an angelic, patient guy. He was terrific, and thank God for him.
What was his name? What was his name?
See, an old friend of mine. Is that ever? You're too young for this.
Chris probably knows who it is.
Oh, sure, I'll say. Oh, Dan. I'm sorry, Dan Mooney.
Dan Mooney.
Mooney, yeah, he was great, and he was terrific. He he did everything for him, you know. Although Chris played trumpet, it made him a very good reader. He reads piano music. He's not just a drummer, so he's a lot because of Dan Mooney, and at nighttime I used to play with Dan and a bass player and a terrific saxophonist. So the town was nice that way. Otherwise, it was KKK country, you know.
Would the KKK have their bookstores lined up on the side of the road and stuff like that?
It was all Trump signs and American flags.
No, I know, but I mean, I know cats in the South, like there would be mixed race bands. This is a little bit later, but they'd be driving through like Louisiana, and there'd be the KKK would have their like a information booth set up on the side of the road, and then the guys would go past them and yell at them like, you know, you racist mother and whatever. And then next thing you know, on their way back from the gig, a guy who's impersonating a police officer pulls them over and has them on the side of. I mean, it was harrowing shit. It was really harrowing.
Oh,
yeah, that's the South. But I mean, did you go to the strip to the strip clubs to see Chris play? Because I mean,
No.
it was more like it was more like shake dancers and.
Oh, yeah.
But
no,
he was
I
like
never did. It was funny, not because what was happening then?
Yeah, really. I mean, because I thought I thought you want to see. He was 11 years old, I think, playing those gigs.
Yeah, that's true. I know one of them was on the way to Danbury, and I remember that one. And the same guy who hired Chris hired us for something else there. God, I can't remember these guys' names anymore. I know he worked at a strip club.
Yeah. Well, dude, those were such lucrative gigs, man. I mean, it was unbelievable, man. If you could play, it was all mob run. Those guys were getting paid good money, man. I mean, it's like it's nuts.
I know. But the great thing about Chris is he keeps painting and playing. It's really an ideal life for him.
Dude, he's just he's at peace because he just is doing what his true nature is, and he's able to make a livelihood doing it, and
yep.
It's an inspiration for that.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the trajectory or the arc of music, and if you, not that you're tapped into modern music today, but knowing that you kind of lived through such a magical period of music, do you think music is cyclical, and what do you think the future of music is?
I hope it's more interesting than how I find it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a moment when it really suited me perfectly, and I guess that would be Monk and some of those guys, where it really was inventive, and yet it still swung, which I like, and it had something homey about it, It wasn't. That's a stupid word. Something accessible about it. It was tricky and all that, but God, I don't know. I haven't heard much lately that interests me. Although my son Nicholas's band called the Jazz Bastards is very funny. Have you heard about that one yet?
No. What do you like about it?
Well, it's hilarious. It's a stage, and he goes up on the stage, but he drops his drums, and they fall over, and then his singer's dress rips, and it's a terrific band.
So it's kind of like there's an entertainment component to it as well.
Yeah, they call it the Jazz Bastards, and the singer's very pretty, and they're all good players, but they just mess around and play the wrong notes and odd instrumentation. There's a bass clarinet and Nicholas on drums, and then some guy playing a lute or something.
Right.
But they're only New Yorker just gave them a quick mention a couple weeks ago, but I wish they would go there more often. It's only once a month.
Where do they play at?
Oh, it's way downtown somewhere. I forget the street.
And what kind of gigs are you playing?
Oh, well, I only have this local one at a huge, very, the most expensive inn around here. But it's near the racetrack and near the Hotchkiss School. So when there's a school event, we'll often get good crowds in there, and there's a racetrack nearby, get good crowds in. But generally, it'll be our trio or quartet, and we just packed up after a while. But it's a place to play. I like it. And other than that, that's a trio with no horns or anything. But I miss those other days when there was. So as far as like a full quintet with saxophonists and all that doesn't happen with me very much. It's usually just a trio.
Yeah, I mean, there's just also an issue with, not with you, but in today's world you have, all this information readily available at your fingertips, and so you wind up sounding like your professors or the people you listen to on YouTube, and you don't have your own individual sound. That's the homogenization of sound is why you're not getting turned on by the music. So I just got to say, Robert Andrew Parker, I hope we can fill in this 5-valve trumpet player. I hope we can fill in some more of these record albums that you did. I mean, this is a serious legacy you have, and
I know.
But this was we just cooked for 55 minutes, man. I really had a ball with you, man.
Oh, it's been that long?
Yeah.
Good heavens. Well, that was great talking with you. And I'm sorry my...
No, we're gonna get it all straightened out. I mean, I can't thank you enough for taking the time, and I look forward to this, adding to your tapestry as, your legacy, man. I mean, it's inspirational to meet, families with these, going back to what you said about these trees with all these unique branches, and they all sort of wind up forming this, this beautiful tapestry. That's kind of what life is really about. So, I mean, be proud, my friend.
Okay, thanks very much.
Have a great day.
You too, bye.
Bye-bye. It's one for the books. Robert Andrew Parker, the father of Chris Parker and Eric Parker and all the Parker brothers. That's it for the Jake Feinberg Show. See you later.